Welcome, everyone, to Money Mastery for Mystical Women Entrepreneurs. I am Katie Zaffrann, and I'm an actor, a singer, and a meditation teacher in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition. After many years of working on stage, as well as over a decade experiencing the benefits of my own personal meditation practice, I've let my two paths cross, and I'm now so excited to be working, writing, and creating at the intersection of drama and Dharma. I'm so beyond honored that Michelle asked me to interview her today as part of this powerful series. Michelle has been my coach and mentor for many years, and I've had the great gift of receiving her wisdom one on one, in groups, as well as on her amazing retreat. I have been a seeker my whole life, and having worked with many coaches and teachers, I can say unequivocally that Michelle is the real deal. She is deep and keen and clear seeing. She has walked every inch of her talk, and her guidance has been invaluable to me, particularly through one of the biggest transitional portals of my life, becoming a mother during COVID, spending years off the stage, and now emerging onto this path that feels so indelibly my own. I'm deeply grateful to her, and I'm so happy that I get to introduce her to you. So, Michelle Atlas empowers deep, creative women to reclaim their self trust so they can create change they did not think possible in their relationship to money, their businesses, and most importantly, to themselves. She's part business mentor, part shadow detective, part spiritual guide, and part soul prosperity midwife. Her personal experience converting darkness to beauty over and over again in the school of life give her coaching a unique depth and wisdom. Michelle is knee-deep writing her first book for women entrepreneurs called Your Sovereign Nature. As an international coach and speaker, she's helped hundreds of women across 11 countries release long-held traumas and grow abundant businesses that feed their creative soul by sharing the truth of who they are. So, Michelle, hi.
Hi, thank you so much, Katie. Thanks so much for that.
Oh, it's truly my pleasure. So, you are here to talk to us today about money and the mother wound.
Yeah,
It's big.
absolutely. It's huge. Yep. And I haven't heard a lot of talk about this topic, but it's been a part of my personal journey in terms of, the discoveries and revelations that I've had about my own money story and my own money barriers and healing. And I've come to recognize, since I work primarily overwhelmingly with women entrepreneurs, that really it's sort of there is an undercurrent of this mother wound story within so many of the women that I work with. And I guess I'll just dive right in. It's really our relationship to money has to do with so much other than money per se. It has everything to do with how we give and receive to ourselves and others. It has everything to do with what we value and invest in. It has everything to do with these sort of invisible and visible concepts, ideas about permission and deserving. That's a real whopper. Those are hotbed words. And even how lovable we feel like we are, even in terms of this lovability. And I've even noticed it impacting the kind of partner people choose. It's amazing. So one's relationship to money. And since it has so much to do with receiving and, again, permission and deserving, that's the feminine we're talking about there. And we learn about the feminine primarily through our mothers and through our mothers, and not just through our mother's behavior with us, which has a profound impact, but through our mother's relationship to abundance, through our mother's relationship to deserving and permission. How much does she give to herself? How does she take care of herself? What are her attitudes towards generosity and selfishness? What are her attitudes towards giving and receiving, and so much more? And then, of course, how nurturing is she with us? How protective? How wise? How is she a teach? Is she a loving teacher of life or not? what does she tell us we is possible for us? Does she support us in believing that we can do and achieve and create anything that we want? Or is she, frightened of life herself and unable to give us that gift? So, all of this exists on a continuum, of course, where, we've got some of us had mothers who didn't give us any of that. Some of us had mothers who gave us some of that. Some of us had mothers who were inconsistent on that continuum, moved around a lot depending on how they were doing and what was happening in their lives. And so, but we're profoundly impacted by all of this. And I'm going to just highlight one last time before we go on to whatever the next question is, that, or the next topic is, that receiving is the name of the game here. The feminine is receptive. The feminine allows life to penetrate her. The feminine holds space. So there's room inside to receive the unlimited abundance available to everyone. But if the feminine is distorted or, has been injured, wounded, then that's probably not the case. And when that's not the case, then almost anything else that a woman does to empower her relationship to money, and there's so many possibilities, right? Strategies and, all kinds of, tips and tools and management and this and that. While all those things are important, no matter how many of them a woman does, if she can't receive money, it's like she's standing behind a closed door saying, "How come nothing's coming? How come nobody's coming in? How come nothing's coming in?" I always use the analogy of a party, when someone is, invites friends and loved ones over and they clean the house and they cook and they do everything, they decorate and they do everything to prepare. And the day of the party comes and it's like everyone RSVP'd, yes, but nobody's showing up. What's happening? And they're all standing on the other, she forgot to unlock the door, so the door is shut. They're all out there, but they can't get in. And that's what happens with a lot of talented, gifted, amazing, deep, intuitive, sensitive women when it comes to money. So, but this connection to, so obviously, then we're always looking at, well, how do we transform that? And an exploration of the mother wound is a real missing link, in my opinion.
Mhm. So I'm hearing that there's these patterns, maybe this modeling that we've had from our own mother, and we all, we know that that impacts our own relationships and the way that we are in the world. Can you give some specific examples of how this might play out in a deep, sensitive woman's life, or her relationship to money specifically in a business, or on this
Yeah,
topic of receiving?
absolutely. No, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. So, yeah. So, uh, I see a lot of common patterns among, again, you and I are both deep, sensitive, intuitive women. And of course, I work with, that's who I work with. We work with people that are a lot like us, usually in the coaching industry, if you're a teacher, coach, healer type person. Um, and so I see some common patterns. And one of the common patterns, ways it plays out, is in this kind of, um, I'll say, concepts about spirituality and money. So, where there's a huge disparity in a woman's understanding, either you're spiritual or you want, or you enjoy money and can make good money, and then you're materialistic and superficial. And this has got to be transformed. This is a massive barrier. These two areas of life, our spirituality and our relationship to prosperity, have to be married. They have to blend and become one. And so that's a real whopper. And what I see is it's multi-layered. So it looks like it's just this spiritual understanding, but very often, in the detective work that I end up doing with women, we discover that they're under, we peel back the layers of the onion and we see that that concept is just a protector because she's really feeling ill-equipped to, afraid of visibility, afraid to become prolific, afraid that she's not enough. And again, this all goes back to the mother wound in many cases, where She's afraid she's not, so, she wasn't told she is enough. She didn't grow up believing she's enough. She didn't grow up understanding her unique, one of a kind gifts that every single one of us, embodies. So, we come up with a lot of stories and excuses, and the spirituality versus money is one of the big ones. Another one, I'm just thinking there are several common ones. That's probably the most common one. Another common one has to do with this kind of good, it's similar, but it has a little different, cloak. It's like I say, it's the same story wearing a different outfit. Where, so this one, is where, kind of a love-hate relationship with, money. Is it good? Is it evil? So I see a lot of deeper women who are very humanitarian spirited people. They want to help the world, maybe save the world, do good in the world. This is wonderful. And yet somehow they are not making the connection that they can't really do that in this world without money. And so these beautiful, creative, uplifting ideas that could truly benefit humanity are hindered because they think that somehow money shouldn't, it's the money shouldn't matter, is what I hear. Money shouldn't, why is money so important? I don't, I don't like to think about money. I just want to do what I want to do, but you can't without money. And so, yeah, so that's a whopper. And what I say to all, I'm sure there are many others, but what I say to all of that is that, we don't just say, oh, silly me, I better just marry these two ideas and I better just get over my love hate. It's not that, it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. So one of the paradigms, I guess, that I use that has been very powerful for a lot of women is to think about it like a dear friend, to befriend money, because when all of these other things are really rejecting money and then sitting around saying, I don't know how to make money, I can't make money, I'm just not good at money, or I can't share my gifts because I don't know how to make money. Most of us know how to be a good friend. Most of us know how to be if you're a mom, you could even use it as a metaphor for parenting your beloved child, or being a beautiful, wonderful spouse or partner to your beloved partner, where when we want to nurture and grow something, a relationship of any kind, what do, right? We pay attention to it. We pay lots of attention. We check in with it regularly, right? We want to know how it's doing. We pay attention to how it's doing. Um, we're interested in it. We show a lot of interest, right? We intentionally cultivate it and it grows. And the money's no different. It's a relationship. It's an absolute relationship. And so if you think of it that way, then it's like, well, if I'm walking around saying money doesn't matter, if you said that to a friend or a new friend, would they be magnetized to you? Would they want to hang around you and grow? They'd probably go running as fast as they could to find somebody who valued them, because you're basically telling them you don't value them very much. They shouldn't be that valuable. And so that has turned the lights on for a lot of women that I've worked with, because money likes attention. Money loves clarity and it loves attention. It likes it when you have a weekly time that you check in and you track what's coming in, what's going out, what's going on with it, so that you know. And then you begin to make, even though it might be a bitter pill initially, where if you've neglected it, like again, if we neglect a relationship, it'll end up dying eventually, not only not growing, but with money, when we've neglected it and we begin to befriend it and we begin to take these steps to, um, track it and know our numbers and just attend, not obsess, but, again, 15, 10 minutes a week, just really giving it attention. And what happens is we become a better steward pretty fast. And even though it's a bitter pill initially for some, the clarity is so empowering. It might initially feel like, ouch, oh my God, this is horrible. I didn't know don't have this, or I didn't know that, I'm paying fees on that, or whatever it is. But the moment that you do have that clarity, you'll find like instantly you start making different decisions. It's this knowing it, becoming intimate with it is really what I say also. And then the new decisions will lead to new results. And again, sooner than, quicker than later, you will start to see new results from those new decisions. That's just how it works.
I'm wondering, as I'm listening to you and I'm thinking about the relationship with our mother is just so primal and central to us, and it's knit into our cells in a way that is beyond conscious thought even.
Mhm.
Um, is there a reason connected to this that a woman might be afraid of money,
Mm.
and um, beyond? I mean, I'm totally hearing the connections between, spirituality, and I kind of don't want to touch it, but an actual that if this relationship has been so damaging that she might be just afraid to even touch it.
Yes. Oh, yes, absolutely. That's the other, I guess I'll say, sort of paradox that we end up working with a lot. And that is and these are, like you said, you just said it so well, so knit into us that that it's not conscious. And that's the most insidious. We can't change what we can't see. So all of this healing and empowerment begins by flipping the lights on, in a big way. And one of the other areas that is very hidden is this safety versus danger component. And so I just find that we don't think of it that way. We don't realize when we make some of those comments or we carry some of these really limiting, stifling beliefs about money that what we're really saying is money is scary. Like we can't trust it. Right. And so underneath a lot of these concepts, we discover that, that women sometimes feel that they can't rely, again, I want to keep going back to this paradigm of friendship or of, relationship where, with a friend, a good friend, you'd feel like you could rely on them, like they'd be there for you when you needed them most. And when we transfer that to money, many, many deeper women fear that money won't be there for them when they need it most. That no matter how much they do, no matter how hard they try, no matter how much they make, that somehow it'll never be enough. This is a projection of feeling like they will never be enough. And so if they don't feel safe with money, then that means money is actually feeling dangerous. And again, how can we nurture and grow a relationship that feels dangerous? It's safety, and again, particularly with the mother, right? With our mother, one of the key components to a nurturing, beautiful relationship with beneficial relationship with one's mother is that she's the safest place in the world. Many of us, myself very much included, did not have an emotionally safe mother. And so we don't have that template for safety inside of us. So when it comes to anything having to do with energetics that could blossom our world, blossom our life, give us, again, give us a nice home and vacations and the best health and the ability to contribute to other people's lives, it just instantly can bring up all those feelings of how unokay it may have felt with your mother. And so this safety, the mother really should be a safe place to fall when we're growing up, right? The safest place, home. And if we had a negligent, an emotionally abusive mother, a physically abusive mother, an absent mother, just there's so many versions of poor mothering that translate. And so, these are all traumas. And with trauma, as neuroscience so well knows, now it's not so much the event, but it's the meaning that we make of it. So, according to each of our unique personalities, now we're translating that relationship with our mother into meaning, and unfortunately, particularly women, will translate that relationship, the behaviors that occur in that relationship, the nurturance or lack of, into meaning about ourselves, right? And our own worthiness and our own enoughness and our own deservedness and all of those things, again, comes right back to all of that. Later in life, when we find ourselves struggling, um, again, the path to healing is we first have to flip the lights on, pull the cover back and recognize, whoa, I didn't realize I was feeling like money was dangerous all this time. Or I didn't realize that all of my decisions are based on thinking I'll never be enough or that I'll never have enough, right? Once we see that, the healing begins. The healing and the money and our income changes. I'm living proof of that. Our income changes radically once we do the work.
I'm sure this is going to be turning on light bulbs for people. And I'm over here nodding emphatically, and I'm sure others will be as well. So can you say more? So like tell me more about the steps to healing, to breaking through these
Mhm.
patterns and
Sure,
living an abundant life.
sure. So, yeah, and so, the timing on all of this varies from person to person, but so the first step really is slowing. We're always weaving our healing and empowerment, on this kind of journey is always a weave. It's always a beautiful blend of the deep internal dive and work and then the practical and tangible actions. That's really, we manifest when we have, I always call them two wings to the bird. So, it's the emotional and then the practical. And a lot of, a lot of money empowerment work doesn't address the emotional. And the emotional is, again, just math. It's really, in my opinion, more important than anything because you literally you could try every positive strategy on the planet and it won't be, you might sustain for a very short time, but it won't be sustainable if you don't do the deep inner lasting transformational work. So we start by slowing down and really diving in and really, again, becoming really intimate with what our money stories are. What did we internalize? What is driving our money decisions and our money behaviors that we weren't aware of? What are the specific messages that we converted into meanings about ourselves that really were never true? Um, and then from there, once we start to make those connections, the moment we make those connections, they tend to start to transform. But what we're really needing to do in this mother wound work is remother ourselves. And so, as adults, wonderful if we have a living mother that we can actually have meaningful conversations with. Many of us don't. We may have, either we don't have a living mother or we do, and we can't have the meaningful conversations for different reasons. But some people do. Even when you do, though, my belief and my experience is that the very most empowering work we can possibly do is to learn to be for ourselves that which others couldn't, didn't, wouldn't, whatever. That's really what sets us free. That's where the liberation is. So I work with a lot of, deep internal practices that really help to um, excavate the trauma, really, and release the shame. And these are all really toxic, entities that get lodged in our nervous system. And so, we first need to have a way of understanding what we're really feeling, as I said. So we shine a spotlight on that. And then we do trauma release work. And as we're doing it, we begin to take baby steps, right? So we're looking at where we really want to be. And then we reverse engineer. So this is on the practical level. We're looking at where we want to be, and then we're going to reverse engineer and look at what are the barriers, but also what are the baby steps to getting there. So we hear a lot of talk in the marketplace about big bold goals and big bold steps, and um, we always it's wonderful to dream and have big visions, beautiful, but if we have visions and goals that are so huge we even ourselves can't relate to them, it's impossible to attain them. We have to be able to become and embody what it is we want in order for it to manifest it, which means usually a step-by-step process of moving towards what we want. So we really chunk it down and we start to practice moving towards relief, whatever gives us the most relief, in terms of, moving in the direction of what we want, not the kind of relief that lets us stay where we are. So there's that kind of relief too, but that's false relief because ultimately we end up frustrated and limited. So um, yeah, so I mean, I've got a whole, beautiful roadmap that begins with, what I call an archaeological dig, so that we can do the excavation of that which we have not been able to see before.
Mm.
But things start to change pretty quickly, not overnight, but they start to change pretty quickly because no amount of transformation is small. And once you start to make these connections, again, it instantly impacts your decisions. And that's what changes your life, are different decisions.
It sounds like a journey of trust and care, that
Yes,
a different way of being rather than different things to do necessarily, which it will lead to different things to do, but it sounds like it's not,
yes,
you're not giving a list of do these 9 things and then off you
that's
go.
right.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right. That's really astute of you to recognize. That is absolutely right. It's not that, yes, it's who you're being. So life is always harmonizing with our frequency. And so you can actually do a lot of the right things, but not be in a place that's really deeply aligned and one with those things, and you won't get good results. That's why when someone, for example, I mean, this is a very simple metaphor, but when a leader, let's say in a workplace, I used to do leadership training, and sometimes the leader needed to express more gratitude with the idea that he would probably get more commitment from his subordinates if he or she did. And so I would actually be in a position to teach somebody to say thank you more often. And they would go do that, and things would stay the same because they actually experienced no connection to that gratitude whatsoever. They were just words, and people could feel that. So, who we're being is the most powerful thing in the world. And it's energetic. It's energetic, these shifts. Life is always harmonizing with us for better and worse. That's all it can do. So it's again, it's where you're living, and yeah, it's more subtle. And then we couple that with some strategies that are aligned with your nature. So you're not always feeling like a square peg in a round hole. You're actually, you know, the practical components are playing to your gifts, playing to your nature. But you have to first be in a place to be living in your nature and living in your gifts, just being your gifts. And then our existence has a positive impact in the world. And when life is harmonizing with you, money is too. Money is a part of that. So I'll just briefly my own story. For the first 5 or 6 years of my business, I like like so many women that I work with, I just ran myself right into the ground, doing everything known to mankind. I followed every tip and every tool, and I listened to every mentor and every guru. And I lived in a perpetual state of mastering one learning curve after another, many of which were learning how to do things I didn't like doing and didn't really want to be doing, but I was told I should. And after about 5 or 6 years, I just was making a marginal income. I was making some money, but it wasn't what I was promised and what I felt I should be making based on my Herculean efforts. And I just felt really discouraged, and I kind of really hit the wall. I started to feel depressed, started to feel like I was losing the spirit of why I wanted to start my business to begin with. And there were a lot of little nuances, but long story short, I had a situation where that catalyzed a just a profound level of, I'm going to say, such a profound level of feeling like I couldn't control, I couldn't make it happen. that I actually sort of fell back energetically into a state of really deep surrender. So after I tried everything and it hadn't worked, I started to run out of money, and I was like, I don't think there's anything else I can possibly do. And so I just ended up, I dropped into a really profound state of surrender, unlike anything I'd ever experienced. It was a very embodied, sort of spiritual experience. And, within, and I literally was running out of money. I mean, almost completely. And within a week to 10 days, money just started to pour in from all directions. Money that I'd been owed, a royalties check that I was owed for over a year finally showed up for some work I had done. Multiple private people who wanted to work with me privately in my higher price point packages just showed up. I did not solicit them and just committed. And I was just really in a very abundant place within a very short time. And then a very short time after that, my income flipped to six figures and never went back, for years now. And it's beyond that now. So, and it's really, have been thriving since. And it wasn't because of all the things I did. Whoops. It wasn't because of all the things I did. I think I just hit something and changed the position of the video, and I'm not sure if I can get it back. Let me just see. Um, let's see if I can. Or we can, I think leaving it is also fine too. So we can just do that. But yeah, so it, it wasn't about the doing, it was that something profoundly energetic shifted internally, and I started doing less. I really literally threw my hands up and leaned back, and I felt myself kind of move into a place of incredible softening when that happened. And what I now understand was a place of really profound receptivity. And when I ceased all the franticness and the pushing and all the stuff that kind of took me out of the feminine and out of a place of being really loving and kind and compassionately mothering to myself, when that leaning back, that surrender, that softness was all a form of self-mothering. And there was just room, and money money came to meet me.
Mm.
And it's mysterious. It's very important to me that when I tell a story like this, that listeners don't feel like it's something that happens to someone else who must be more special than them or
Right.
something like that, because that is just simply not true. I can assure you. I've had so many hardships and so many difficulties in my life. Um, it has not in any way been a piece of cake. I've learned and grown and been shaped in amazing ways through all of them. But we all, this is energy. Everyone has this potential. Everyone has this potential. And yes, it's a little bit mysterious in terms of how these things happen, and but if you continue to genuinely and self-compassionately take the steps, there's always a return. There's always a return on our investment, always, whether it's instantaneous, in which in some cases it absolutely will be, or it takes a little longer. There is always a return. It's energetic. It's a law of nature, you know. So.
Michelle, I do want to ask you, as you're telling your own story, um, is there any piece of this mother wound that you've experienced specifically that you'd like to speak to, that you feel correlates to your journey?
So, yeah, in my case, my mother was very restrictive, and she was a no mother, not a yes mother. So, the answer to and I was very visual and artistic, and I, still am. I'm an artist, and I loved beautiful things. I always noticed them, and I was drawn to them. And, but the answer to, every desire, and even for basics, socks and underwear and all the basics was, do you want it or do you need it? And she was very critical and very judgmental, and had a very harsh kind of way with me and with certain others as well. Her mothering style was very much an authoritarian, disciplinarian type of a mother. And so I internalize again, it's the meaning we make of these behaviors that matters. And so I internalized this, years and years of no, 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 do you want it or do you need it? In such a way that led to a lot of guilt. I felt like I was almost harming my parents by asking for something. I started to take on responsibilities that weren't mine, like asking them if they had enough money when I had a basic need. And also just a very core sense of shame about desires and needs, and really translated all of that into kind of a core belief that I didn't deserve anything. Like it must be okay to not be okay to want anything. Fast forward many, many years, she passed young, and I found myself newly divorced with, great credit. I'd never used a credit card before, had all these credit cards, great credit and on my own, her not around. And I discovered the art of shopping to fill a void, which can happen. I was like, wow, I could just want something. There was no one there to slap my hand, and I could just buy it with this credit card, whether I had the money or not. And then it was mine, and it was like a miracle. And so, initially, those purchases felt like they gave me the nurturance and the love and that I didn't get from her. So I would have like a very warm and fuzzy experience when I would purchase something, whether I could afford it or not. So this was a hard habit to kick, right? Because how much I was getting, who wants to give that up, especially after a lifetime of not receiving it? And so, of course, eventually over time, I accrued debt. And then I felt ashamed of that. And so then I had this pendulum of good girl, bad girl. Like, I would try to restrict myself to get out of debt and stop accruing debt. And I would start to feel exactly like I did with my mother, like really restricted and held back and suffocated. And so the only release valve I could figure out what find was to go buy something, and then I'd feel shame. I'd feel this high, this like, oh, that I just feel so good now. This is wonderful. Life is good. And then the next moment I'd feel really ashamed and like I just done something really stupid or silly. And this went on for a period of years. And I kept trying to, I read books by money gurus and I watched my friends who seemed to have good money hygiene and I try to imitate them. And nothing was sustainable for me for very long. It was like a yo-yo diet where, you try to really crack down and then all of a sudden you're eating 3 candy bars. So, long story short, I learned more about my unique money gifts and strengths and my unique money personality. And I had a profound breakthrough, and it was a self-forgiveness breakthrough where I realized that I could not have done anything differently until I really understood what was driving all this, just like I'd been saying in this conversation with you, Katie. And I understood, that I again went to the depth of what had happened with my mother. And I understood that she and I were very different by nature, let alone in personality and the way we would relate to nurturance and giving and receiving. We're just really different creatures, a bit of oil and water by nature. And so to expect myself to be anything like her just felt so unrealistic and unkind. And once I began to understand my unique money personality, my unique gifts and strengths and blind spots, again, had a profound experience of self-forgiveness, which released a lot of this shame and the toxic shame and all the horrible things I've been saying to myself. And I had a really amazing experience. The next time I went shopping, um, it was really felt kind of like a miracle because the very next time I went shopping, when I saw something this is a long time ago at this point, like many, many years ago, but the next time I went shopping, I saw something that, there's always something, right? So I saw something beautiful that I shouldn't buy. And um, when I thought about purchasing it, instead of feeling like I was going to get the relief by purchasing it, I heard the words really powerfully. It was from that really deep place beyond the conditioned mind. I heard the words, I'm enough. And when I heard the words, I'm enough, I felt a flip inside. And I could feel that by not purchasing it, I was going to have the experience. This gives me chills to this day, and it was such a long time ago. I was going to have the experience of the love and nurturance and that warm and fuzzy feeling that in the past I could only get by purchasing it. So it was really just a profound thing for me after years of trying to get this to happen that and it really that's kind of what changed everything for me. And to this day, that barometer, that new compass lives in me. And it's very easy for me to say no to myself because I've got that I have an access point to that deeper truth. So, it's like I'm empowered, right? And I
Mhm.
wasn't before. I was sort of just a victim of this whole, you know, pendulum swinging. So that's,
We all have that compass point.
yep. Yeah, we all have it.
It's to it.
It's about access.
Yeah.
And the work I do is definitely all about helping people find their own access point to that deeper truth. It's not about perfection, but it's about choice. When we don't have access to the compass, to the internal compass, we're just following an intellectual, somebody's intellectual recommendations or something like that. It is unsustainable. It has for deeper women, the path to healing and empowerment is deeper. It has to be.
Mm.
Yeah.
Shell, there's so much here. This conversation is a gift, and there's so much here for people to excavate only here, but I know there's more. So, can you tell us again about your free gift and the
Yeah.
VIP upgrade and anything else you'd like to share?
Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, so the gift, and you may have seen this and or done this already throughout this interview series. There's free access to my money archetype quiz, which will flush out, will give you a snapshot of your money archetypal profile, and you'll learn your lead archetype, which will tell you a lot about your gifts and strengths, and you'll learn about your blind spots as well. And then the VIP upgrade is wonderful because it has lots of support in it. And so for once you have your quiz results, you bring that to your VIP upgrade and you get a 50-minute training from me, where video training where I'm going through each of the archetypes in depth and detail, way more depth and detail than I when we could give in the snapshot results you'll receive. So you're going to get that, and it's going to really start to click in about your personal gifts and strengths and your personal blind spots. And that's just a really fun and enlightening thing to watch. And then I'm including my most popular 21 minute guided visualization, guided meditation called Receive to help you become safe with receiving. And that's just something that my clients have found really useful. And then we're also going to do a live Q&A. So those who purchase the VIP upgrade will be invited to a live Q&A and coaching session with me where you can bring any concerns or questions about your personal money story, your personal money journey, or anything that you've learned in the summit in this interview series that you have questions about, or anything you want to ask me about your situation that in any way I can help and support you. We will have a private group session together that you'll be able to do that in. So I'm excited about the VIP upgrade. I think I don't think you can do that and not have a breakthrough.
It sounds really abundant, and I can speak to that meditation as I have cried at that meditation and it has gone deep. So that
Thank
you
you.
will definitely benefit from that. So thank you so much, Michelle. This has been such a pleasure. You have so
Thank
much to offer, and it's just been an honor to be here with you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Katie. It's been great. It's just been a wonderful conversation.